Hello! We have 3 stories today, and I thought, we've had a lot of special sagas lately, whether from Ada or the Manager series. And it is about time we got back to the traditional fare with some stories from the Daily Grind and Malicious Compliance. Our first story features a grocery store owner who decided he could bully a cashier into doing work that wasn't exactly in their job description. However, our hero chooses to hang up their mop, causing some fallout nobody was expecting, least of all the owner. Story 1. I was working a second job at our local small grocery and butcher shop, a few nights a week to pay for my kids' activities. I was hired as a cashier. The person that did the end-of-day butcher shop cleanup and sanitizing quit. So instead of hiring someone for cleanup, the owners decided that the cashiers could just do it between customers. The owner sat at their office watching TV and screwing around. When a customer came in, doorbell would ring. They would buzz the phone in the butcher area for the cashier to come check them out. When I came in for my shift at 6 p.m. and was told about the new setup, I told them, no, I was not hired to clean up the butcher area. I was hired to run the register and stock shelves. The owner then said I would clean the butcher shop or I could consider myself fired, and they walked away. I said, fine. I grabbed my things and left. Apparently, the owner thought I had given in and was in doing the cleaning. So they buzzed the butcher area when customers came in for about 2 hours before someone told them no one was coming to check them out. The store's liquor area, cigarettes, and scratchers got emptied out. It was 7:30 and I got a screaming phone call from the owner about how he was calling the police and I was going to get arrested. Yeah, right. Owner did call the police. The owner stated he wanted me arrested as an accomplice to the thefts because I had left. Cops asked me to come to the store, which I did, and I explained that the owner had fired me. So I went home and the CCTV would prove that fact. The tape was reviewed, and plain as day, the owner said I was fired. I estimate they lost about $30,000. In the comments, Inspector Gadget said, sounds like a lack of job security. You lost your job, they lost their security. Ankulukazo said, so they reviewed the tape to determine that you were fired, but not to see who cleared out the store inventory? OP replied, of course they did. I didn't hang around to watch the full tape. I showed them the system and the part where the boss and I were talking at the register. Boss saying, consider yourself fired, walking away, me saying, fine, gathering my stuff and leaving. After that, I went home. I never heard anything more about it. D-Smog asked, $30K retail or $30K cost? I bet the owner tried to claim $50K from insurance. OP replied, probably. I'm just spitballing on the $30K. Cigs were $5 a pack, cigars all different costs, probably average of $100 a box. Liquor, hundreds of bottles ranging from half gallons down to nippy bottles. The scratchers were the big money, as we had every kind made, rolls and rolls of them. Viewforce said, whenever someone gives me the my way or the highway choice, I always just say, okay. That lets them think I chose their way when I am actually way down the highway before they realize they screwed themselves. OP had nothing to lose, and apparently the owner had plenty to lose. Shame on them for thinking that it was okay to save a few bucks and put more on others. Having been a cashier, I can say it's hard enough to clean up the front end of a store during close in between customers. Never mind a butcher's area. And we all know how okay people are with waiting, right? I wonder if the TV show that owner was watching was worth it. Huh! Our second story continues on theme for more workplace shenanigans, but trades the grocery store for a cafe when a new hire froths up some trouble for their boss when they start slinging questions faster than espressos. And that's never a good situation because video editing Cece practically lives on espresso. But fear not. Our hero takes their boss's advice to not spill the beans and doubles down on grinding out the Java, even as an emergency starts to brew. Story 2. This morning I got into my car and realized I left my headlights on. Thankfully, modern technology meant it had automatically switched off when the key was removed. But it reminded me of a time where that wasn't so. Many, many years ago, I was working one of my first jobs in a little cafe nearing the end of my training period. It was a quiet day, perfect to put the newbie on with only one experienced staff member. The experienced staff member called in sick. Boss had to come in and cover until Sue could come in early. Boss wanted to use the time on site to do paperwork out the back. I'll be in here if you have any questions. I very annoyingly had a lot of questions. How to avoid an incorrect transaction, where to find more special paper for the credit card machine, what to do when the coffee grinder stopped working. Finally, boss said, "I'm busy. Don't bother me unless it's an emergency. Let me know when Sue is here." Shyly, I replied, "That's what I came to tell you. Sue just arrived." "Great. Any more questions? Ask her." Sue took over the coffee area and got me on restocking, clearing tables, and emptying the bins and other necessary grunt work. I went out to the outside bins through the little staff parking area and saw my boss's old car there with the headlights still on. I went back to my boss's office. "Boss, is it an emergency?" Boss snapped. "Not to me," I replied. "Then go away." I left quickly. I went to tell Sue instead. "Sue," then I changed my mind. "Boss doesn't want to be disturbed unless it's an emergency, so I'm supposed to ask you if I have more questions." Sue and I worked pleasantly until the end of my shift a few hours later. As I gathered my things to leave, Boss ran by me, knocking into me a bit. Without turning around to see if I was okay, Boss said, "Sorry, I'm in a rush." I slowed down to see what happened next. Getting out my brick of a phone to text my mother, I was on my way home. I could hear my boss swearing. "OP!" Oh no, Boss realized that was what I was going to tell them earlier. I was in trouble. "Can you bring your car in and give me a jump start? My battery is flat." Only a few cars could fit, so only senior staff and management could park there. I walked here. I lived 10 minutes walk up the hill. I raced off before my boss could blame me. The next time I was on shift with Sue, I asked what happened to Boss. "Headlights left on. Got a flat battery. Boss tried to jumpstart it with my car, but it didn't work. Had to call a taxi. Funny that neither of us noticed the lights were on when we walked by it." And I realized, of course, she had to have seen it when she walked in. I can only imagine why she didn't say anything either. In the comments, the Greek Italian said, "Sue sounds like a great influence. She clearly rubbed off on you." Squid King replied, "You shouldn't rub off on people unless they ask." PG Flip said, "Heh, as a side note, I always wondered why the light circuit wasn't on a switched or ACC bus bar. I can't really think of a reason to need the lights on where a key wasn't available." Dermatologist replied, "Big battery trying to sell more cells." Malicious compliance at its finest. The best part of this story is that not only did Sue not say anything to the boss, but she acknowledged it to OP. Their boss obviously does not deserve the benefit of the doubt. He's a total jerk and deserved having to deal with a flat battery. Or a dead battery as I'd refer to it here in Canada, eh? Our last story breaks the theme today of entitled bosses to another one who is all about customer service. When one unreasonable, dare I say Karen-like customer, makes some outrageous demands. "I want them fired." He gives them exactly what they wanted and then some. I have always wondered what these demanding customers would do if they actually ever got what they wanted. Well, this story answers that. Apparently, it's a lot of apologies and regrets and hopefully a lesson they won't forget anytime soon. Story 3. One of my employees accidentally sent out the wrong item on an internet sale. Person was more than just upset. We offered return at our expense and will ship the correct item ASAP and original shipping would be refunded. But no, that wasn't good enough for this person. Told me I should fire Steve for this. Steve, not his real name, had made a simple mistake, and things happened because we were in the busy time of the year. Now, this was 2 weeks before Christmas, and I finally replied to this angry customer. "Dear customer, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your insistence that action be taken in this case. I had been building a case to remove Steve from the company for some time, and this helps me seal the deal. You aren't the first person to tell me this. Thanks to your complaint, I have given to Steve his walking papers." He was very upset. He even cried a little bit and asked, after 4 years, how I could be so heartless to fire him 2 weeks before Christmas. Also, that he was the only source of income for his family with 2 kids and disabled wife. I simply told him he kissed off the wrong customer. "Sorry, Steve, but Santa won't be visiting your kids this year. Oh, and Steve, sorry, but you no longer qualify for your year-end bonus." I thanked the customer because his complaint was going to save the company a lot of money, and as a reward, I was making his $8 purchase totally free. Customer sent back a very long email. where he profusely apologized over and over to the point they must have been crying at the computer while typing it out. They were shocked and stunned I would fire someone just before Christmas and have this attitude that it was a good thing. They literally begged me to hire him back. Well, Steve and I had a good laugh reading what this angry customer wrote. I saved the letter, and over the next 2 years sent it out twice more. Steve was not only a good employee who was honest and caring, I also considered him a friend. Give the people what they want, and suddenly they realize they are the monster they hate the most. In the comments, someone said, "Good job! Steve died because of your silly complaint." OP replied, "I should have told him that he went home and decided life insurance was the only thing he had to help his family, so we got it to pay off." Aka's fat husband asked, "Is Steve okay though?" Chuck Waller replied, "He's at the farm upstate, running free with other wrongfully terminated service workers." Asconia said, "I hope you responded with a 'your words have moved me, tiny human' type speech." And then the dude went on to become a kinder, more empathetic and self-aware human being. OP replied, "From his replies after I fired Steve, I think they realized that their actions on the internet can have real-world consequences for people." AKA mission accomplished? I don't think so. What really gets me is that the customer tried to turn it back on OP with a, "How could you right before Christmas?" This leads me to believe that there is no increase in self-awareness here, because it's okay to fire someone any other time over an error on an $8 purchase, just as long as it's not before the holidays. The real takeaway here, though, is that fake delivering on these absurd requests is extremely entertaining. I once had a colleague that used to respond to these types of complaints with, "Don't worry, they're no longer in that role." Meanwhile, the employee being complained about had actually been promoted. And that's it for today. Until next time, shine bright, Starlight. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.